Raider Nation, to week one of the Red Raider Coaches Show, brought to you by BCTV's Red Raider Broadcasting. I'm your host, Brent Johnson, along with head football coach Keith Gosse. How are you, Coach?
Doing all right.
Doing just all right?
Just all right.
Just all right.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. That's right. That's right. Well, first of all, we want to start off by thanking a few people, as we normally do at the beginning of these coaches shows. We're really thankful for the folks in our community that provide meals for our boys, and it never fails. We always get enough, and there's always some people reaching out to help even afterwards. But we definitely want to thank the First Church of the Nazarene for the first week or week one meal, and Pastor Dan Taylor and his congregation there. And it was prepared by a Boat Ride Buffet, so I'm sure it was
a great meal, and he did a great job of giving the word. And so it was a great experience.
Well, and that's another appreciative thing. We thank our churches, the local churches, that we depend on those types of things. And as far as bringing the meal, is also bring a message to the boys as well, and the coaching staff. And so we want to thank Pastor Dan Taylor for that specifically. Also want to mention we're going to spotlight just a couple of the platinum sponsors for the Red Raider Touchdown Club, and the two this week we're going to recognize is Alma Tire and Auto Repair, as well as ATC Broadband. I want to thank these guys, and there's a ton more that we'll get to. But
got a lot of shows left.
Yeah, we do. We do have a lot of shows. So we definitely want to begin the season off by thanking these two sponsors, pillars in the community as far as what they bring to what they provide for our community as far as services, tire repair, and then obviously ATC Broadband. As internet's pretty important for all of us around here. So again, Coach, kind of start things off here with some good information. We did something a little different this year. I know at least Bacon County has not participated in a spring practice or spring game in quite some time.
Well, we had a spring game, and we were fortunate enough to schedule Bleckley, who was a good program, and made it 3 rounds deep. And right before we hit the scrimmage, Veterans High School had lost their scrimmage with somebody else due to COVID, so we kind of made it a 3-way game there, and it was I think it was a good experience. We got to host that here and bring some people to town that maybe hadn't been here before, and it was a good experience for our players, and I think everybody involved. Well,
it's a double-edged sword. I talked to a couple of coaches during that time. When you have a spring practice or a spring game, it's a great experience for our kids, but there's always that thought in the back of your mind about injury and those types of things that can affect the program.
It affected us this spring, where we had a couple of injuries. We were down several running backs, but scrimmages, beginning of the season, spring games, you're hopefully by the time you hit region play, you're healthy from all those things. Right. And I think we will be healthy, when it matters in region play. But no, there's still one from the spring that ended up having a fracture that we don't have completely healthy back yet. And, he's a strong kid. He's a difference maker for us. So those are legitimate concerns. But also you have to look at the whole of the team. Are we further along as a team? When we have everybody here and we're healthy, and I'm not missing 12 guys in a scrimmage or 20 guys in the first game, I would say the whole product is better, even though we haven't been able to really see it yet.
Right, I got you. And we'll talk a little bit more about those specific things in a little bit. Well, moving from spring, and by the way, I thought we competed very well that night with both of those larger schools. Well, especially Veterans being larger. But Bleckley, as you mentioned, they've been a sort of a powerhouse the last 3, 4, 5 seasons, and then last year they very well should have beaten Raven in the quarterfinals.
Right, they were
had them on the ropes.
A play away from being a semifinal team,
and so that was good that we got them here. And I'm not sure what our schedule will be this coming spring. I don't know if we did a 1-and-1 with that team, or it was just a 1 year.
We may do something else with Bleckley and continue to work with them. I think it's good work. Veterans, that was just kind of something that was thrown in there.
Right.
But I'll get with Von Lassiter, Coach Lassiter, later time, and we'll see if we can work it back out for the spring.
I think that would be neat for our fans to maybe have a chance to go somewhere we're not familiar with either and check it out. So, all right, moving into the summer workouts. I know that we started the summer with a big crowd of folks.
We did. You know, going into the spring, in the end of spring and the summer, you know, at one point, I think even in the winter, we were looking at numbers somewhere about 75 kids saying they wanted to play football. But you always know that's a little high, and it always will be that time of year because a lot of people like to talk about playing, and when it gets down to the actual action of playing, it's quite different and doing the work
Right.
To have success and
Yeah.
compete. So, you know, I think right now our team, we're at 54, 52, somewhere in there, which, you know, is a solid sized team.
That's got to be average, maybe slightly above average for a AA program.
It is,
Across the
considering, I think numbers wise, we're one of the 10 smallest in AA.
That's right.
You know, numbers wise, I feel fine. I feel like we're in a good place. Now, getting them healthy and getting them all there,
Right.
like we'll talk about later,
Yeah.
that's been a different trick this year. But you know, I feel like, you know, numbers wise, we're sound. We're okay. So this summer, you know, when we got, you know, down to it, that's about what we averaged. We averaged about what we have now, about 55 in the summer, and you know, 50, 55 somewhere in there on a weekly basis. And those are the same guys we have now. Those are the guys that were committed to doing it. So that's, you know, that's what we carried in. During the summer, we did some OTAs and went and got to work against Coffee and work against Glen Academy and work against Monroe out of Albany, and really challenge us the level of competition. And it's experience where, you know, we may not always get the best of it, but we're getting better.
Yeah.
And that's the point of it. I'm constantly going to do things to challenge our crowd and keep trying to raise us to that next level.
Well, there's a fine line for a coach, I would have to think, between putting your kids in a position to learn and grow, but also not to lose much confidence either.
Right. And that's the great thing about OTAs. They're not a real game situation. Yes, you're scripting, you know, 10 or 15 plays, and nobody's keeping score. Everybody's working on technique. And I'm sure some people leave OTAs like, oh, we scored 7 touchdowns, but in the grand scheme of things, all the coaches that are there, we're trying to get a live look against somebody else, because you know, your kids get tired of going against each other after a while. They want to compete against somebody else. And so, so we got a chance to do two different OTAs this summer. We threw against you know, a couple different schools, and that kind of led us into starting the school year. And our first scrimmage was against Appling County, and you know, they're a quality squad. They lost, I think, in the 3rd round last year. They were returning a bunch of those guys, and they're a good football team. I would have loved to have my entire football team to work against
Right.
them, but we were missing 12 that week, and you know, we did everything we could to keep the scrimmage going. Unless somebody at the board level tells me I can't play, if I feel like we can play and I can put 11 competent bodies out there on each side, even if they might not get the best of it, we're going to try to play football. Yeah. And so, no, we didn't get the best of it with the scrimmage with Appling.
Appling's a pretty good football team.
Oh, they're a real good football team. I'm not.
Oh, I know you're not. You're not.
I'm not taking
that.
it. I'm not
I know you're not.
taking
I just want to
anything
throw
away
that
from
in there. You know.
No, I mean, they lost, I think, in the quarterfinals last year.
Yeah.
And very easily they could have been in the
That's
semifinals
correct.
in their game against Pierce. Besides a fake punt, they had Pierce beat. So there's, you know, they're a good program.
Yeah. And they got a new coaching staff, or at least the head coach.
The head coach is new. I think he was the DC last year.
Yeah.
But no, they do a good job. I'm not taking anything away from them. it'd be nice to have 12 more guys to play on, though. And that's.
We'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah.
We said that
Yeah.
third time. Well, you mentioned missing some players. I want to ask you this. Maybe we didn't talk about this before the show, but we lost some players that we knew we wasn't going to get back this season. A few key seniors, probably 75% of our offense last year. Mason Michael,
And Terry
Moore, who both have moved on to hopefully some bigger, better things. So, what's that been like?
Well, it's part of high school football. You get guys prepared, and they do a great job for you. And then it's time for them to graduate and take other opportunities in life. It's just a part of the process, and it's a great part of the process. We're excited that both those guys have a chance to play after high school. So, it just is what it is. And then that you got other guys that got to step up and make plays and start taking a bigger role in the offense. And we're in the process of doing that now.
And we've still got what I feel like a good problem. We've still got a lot of young kids.
We do, but a lot of those young kids they've played.
They've got some experience.
They've had some experience. We've played some young guys. Trent Music, he's a junior, but when we get him back full speed this week for the first time, he's a junior that's played 3 years.
Yeah.
So there's a couple guys on the team like that that they're not seniors yet, but they've played a lot of football, but we ain't seen them yet either.
That's right.
So
yeah.
It's what it is right now.
We're going to take a quick break, catch our breath, and you'll see some of our other sponsors. But we'll be back in just a couple minutes on the Red Raider Coaches Show. Welcome back, Raider Nation, to the Red Raider Coaches Show, brought to you by BCTV's Red Raider Broadcasting. I'm your host, Brent Johnson, along with head coach Keith Gosse. Coach, we touched a little bit about our scrimmage game versus Applin, and can you give us any, maybe the highlights, some things that you definitely learned from our team during that game?
Well, one thing I've learned from about our kids over the scrimmage and the first game is, even though the situation hasn't been ideal and we haven't had all of our guys, the fact that there hasn't been any quit, and that's exciting. We've placed guys in some different positions and asked them to step up where we might not have expected them to start and play a lot of football, and that's going to just help us down the line as we continue to get kids back healthy and back from contact tracing and things of that nature. So why it's that part of the process isn't fun in the beginning of the season and what we've had to go through. The benefits down the line, they should be great.
Okay. Well, we've already discussed, we kept saying we're going to get to, we're missing some kids. And that's sort of the elephant in the room with what's going on around us in our nation and around the world, and it's affecting our community and our school. Tell me about, we've recently changed to I wouldn't call it a hybrid schedule, but a slightly different schedule for the high school, where we are distance learning on Wednesday, in which specifically one of the protocols is to deep clean the school, and they have made it adamant that we are not to enter the building
Right.
All day that day. How's that affected your schedule, Coach?
Well, that means we had to completely flip a lot of the things we did, or we do normally. And so we had to kind of research, what was the best way to go about it. And, when Chip Kelly was in Oregon, they did something called No Sweat Thursday, which was 2 days before the game, and then they kind of cranked it back up on Friday before they played on Saturday. With the thought in mind that why do you shut down your body the day before you expect it to perform at its highest level? And so I've never done this before, but I also have some coaches on the staff that were familiar with it. And so we looked it up and found the best way to make it fit us. So now on Monday and Tuesday, we're full pads. We're getting after it. On Wednesday, because we're locked out of the weight room, we're locked out of the school building, our locker room. We're going to try this method for the next 3 weeks and see if we like it. If it's something we're successful with moving forward, it might be something we do. But out of necessity, we're going to give it a try. And so, yesterday we did more of a walkthrough. We really kind of polish. I'm not really breaking much of a sweat, and we'll crank it back up today, and we'll go pro gear, and we'll do our fly through our team, and hopefully the things we did yesterday that was more mental preparation, we'll really polish up things today when we pop pads a little bit, and preparing us for tomorrow. So, it's one of those things that, we don't control all the situations. We've missed a bunch of kids at this point. This is just something we're battling. It's the next thing we're battling, and so, you can sit there and feel bad about it, or you can find a way to make it work.
Yeah. Well, let's slip to Atka real quick. Appling, we're missing roughly 12 kids due to injury and some tracing. And last week versus Atka, we traveled to Pearson, and the number that was confirmed to me was 23. That was the number that kept popping up. 23 kids we were missing.
Yeah,
and more specifically, about 6 on defense.
9.
Okay, 9. I was 3 off. So there we go.
We were missing. There was 9 guys new to starting on defense last week, and 3 or 4 on offense. Anytime you put that many guys out there that haven't played before, you're going to have some growing pains. I will say a lot of guys learned a lot about football last week and how to play in a Friday night situation. Like I said, that's going to help us down the line with depth. But it's not fun when you're going through it.
Right. Probably some guys playing out of position, I would assume.
There's a few playing out of position, and then a few, it was the next guy up. There's only so much shuffling you can get done before a youngster jump in there. And some of them did a great job. Some of the young guys we played, and we called, a few of their names a couple times over the PA system. So, no, there's still the positive things out of it. I mean, one, we're not going to, unless somebody tells me we can't play, or I don't feel like it's safe for our kids to play because of how many we're missing, we're going to go play football. And I think that mindset is lost in today's age. We're going to have a mentality of being tough. And no, it may not work out our way all the time, but I'm just not big on backing down. Well, and I know several other people have. I know several people aren't playing this week that were in the same situation we were last week. But
Atka.
But that's not me.
It's not. I understand their game has been canceled, postponed against Jeff Davis tomorrow night for that reason. And don't take anything away from Atka. They played a good game the other night. They had physical running backs, a couple physical guys that could that kept their motor running, and you had to tackle, you had to wrap up.
But yeah, I would have loved the opportunity to play them with a full roster.
Certainly. And this week, we will be traveling to Long County, Ludowici. I've been there in several years. Nice facility. I don't know if have you played in that stadium before?
I have.
Okay.
A few times.
Yes, because you were. Never mind. When you was in the other region over there.
Yeah.
But nice facilities. So how are we numbers wise on the bus headed over?
We're getting. We've gotten a few back. we've gotten a few back this week, and it's good. We're getting them, acclimated back to the heat and back to practicing. So, we still might have a few stragglers that aren't going to be with us. We've had a few more contact traced this week, and so we'll get some back. We'll lose some, but the numbers overall should be better.
Well, you got to depend on these guys that, again, they can't be on campus. They can't be anywhere. Yeah, and so they're going to be required to maybe do a little, depending on what they're going through at home, to maybe try to do some things to help them stay in shape.
Right, and that's a challenge, especially if the kid doesn't feel well. Obviously, we want him to get better first.
Certainly.
But the kids, they're just contact traced. They message me and they're, Coach, I'm out there running. Coach, I'm running.
Yeah.
Coach, I'm running. And that's been our expectation for them too. So we told them that if there's, if you've just been contact traced, get out your yard and run around. Just because you don't do anything for 2 weeks.
Yep, you can stow up.
Yeah, it ain't quite the same when you come back.
That's right. That's
So-
right. All right, well, let's talk a little X's and O's as we finish things up with Long County. They have a new head football coach. Is that correct?
They do.
Where'd he come from? Do you know?
I forgot where he came from. I've talked to him a couple times this week on the phone because I know they've struggled with, closing down their school, but they've kept their athletics open.
Okay. So what can we expect when we go to Long County tomorrow night?
You can expect too tight, power T football.
Wing T.
No, it's not even wing T. It's 3 across the back. Power T, like old T formation.
Well, I need to bring one up. You got a wishbone, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, the wishbone is broken.
Right, that's right. They're just straight
They're
across.
straight across.
And one of those guys is going to get it.
One of the 3 going to get it.
Every time.
That's right.
So we're going to have to man up and fill a gap, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be smash mouth football, and that's what they're hanging their hat on. That's what they're planning to do, and
Well-
that's all I've seen on film. Unless they decide to get out of it this
Do
week.
something different, and they
Right.
probably won't, and that's just 3 yards in a pile of dust sometimes. Well, what's those backs look like? Are they?
There's one in particular that is pretty salty. He is number 8. They love handing the quick trap to him.
Mm-hmm.
I think when he's in the game, they've handed him the quick trap over 50% of the time. So that is a tendency of theirs. They know it's a tendency of theirs. We know it's a tendency of theirs, and they're going to run it.
I got you. Well, defensively, what can we expect from them?
They got some guys that run to the ball. Maybe not the biggest people we faced thus far, but they put some guys up front that can run. They have good team speed,
Yeah.
and so it's going to be they're going to fly the ball, and we may have an opportunity to go straight at them a little more defensively. So if we feel like we can take advantage of that, we will.
Up front, I know, heard a lot of talking and through the summer and even the last couple of games. Coach, we got a little bit of size. Size-wise, I think we're going to match up with a lot more teams this year.
We will. We got a couple more bodies that we're going to fill out our pads a little more.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. That's a part of the process. Last week I think we were playing without 2 of them on offense and 2 of them on defense, which will even look bigger and show better than we have Friday night and even the scrimmage before.
Okay. Well, what can we expect out of our offense and defense tomorrow night?
Defensively, we'll get a few guys back, so we should have a little better rotation of who we're putting in there to play. We're going to give them a couple different looks up front, and play with their blocking schemes. And so defensively, we'll be multiple. We're not going to just sit in one defense and let them try to figure it out and then run that one best play to that one look. We're gonna play some games back and forth with them and try to make them think. And offensively, it's just about numbers, grass, and ankles. We're going to do what we do. And we're obviously last week only having 1 running back and no tight ends available against Atka. We were stuck with one formation, not one formation, but one personnel group. We call it 10 personnel when you have to play one running back and 4 receivers. And we had 5 receivers available, 1 running back, and no tight ends. So formationally, when they were doing some things defensively, or where we normally combat it by putting a tight end in the game, we didn't have one. And so that's frustrating as a coach, especially as we lost personnel during the week. Even a guy that we could bump and put out there, we lost the ability to do that because we lost another lineman during the week. And so those are some of the challenges that and frustrations. You start getting your hands tied by personnel, and what we would like to do,
Right.
versus what we have the ability to do because so many kids were out.
Well, tell us, we were talking in the break there, tell the Raider Nation the bright spots on offense. Some statistical things that we...
Well, right now in 2A, unless it's changed, we have the number 1 receiver in 2A. He has 154 yards on 4 catches and 2 touchdowns. Guinea does a great job. Antoine Fuller.
Yes.
We call him Antoine Fuller. We call him Guinea.
Great kid too.
It's fun to be around. He's a character.
Yeah.
And I think Riker Tumberland is sitting third, if I recall. And your first start, obviously that comes with challenges, but still threw for over, I think, 205 or 7 yards. And, like I said, he's sitting third in Double-A right now in passing yards. So,
folks are familiar with Cozy Batten,
Yeah.
and he played for us a little bit last year. Great athlete, pretty good arm, just another really good coachable kid.
Right.
That's going to do everything you ask him to do. But you mentioned Riker Tomberlin. He comes in this year, a junior. Tell us a little bit more about Riker.
He's more of a traditional drop-back quarterback. Now, we'll still use Cozy
Right.
in some wildcat stuff. But he starts force at corner, and because some people being out, he had to play some free safety last week in between free safety and corner. So we, had the ability to use Riker and not really diminish ourselves on defense with having 10 people out. But it's, he does a good job. They both present different issues for teams. And we'll use them both as we feel we need to create an advantage.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time for this show. Raider Nation, we want to encourage you to make that travel over to Little Wissy, Georgia, about 55 minutes, 60 minutes to the school, as we face Long County, a AAA school. Again, slightly larger than us, probably bigger numbers than, because we're a little bit lower on the AA side as far as numbers in our school, but we're up for the challenge. We're looking forward to having some kids back that's going to continue to help us as we get more healthy as the season progresses. We're looking forward to that region schedule, and I was going to mention a while ago, this type of offense we're going to face is going to help us against a team like Jeff Davis, who's going to ground and pound.
Right. So the experiences that we've had thus far this season, a Power I team, Power T team, we want to compete with people that run straight at us.
Yeah.
We gotta get work against teams that do those things. And so, no, I'm excited for the challenge. It's stuff that we have to get better at, and so I think it's a good fit. Obviously, I'd like to win every game we ever play, but more importantly, I'd like to win the last 5 on the region and be the region champs, and then win the next 5.
That's right.
So, those are the ones that are the most important.
Certainly. Well, we're looking forward to competing. And again, thank you for joining us on the Red Raider Coaches Show. Join us if you can't make that trip. We will be broadcasting live over the NFHS network powered by Play on Sports. But again, thank you, Raider Nation, for joining us on this week's edition of the Red Raider Coaches Show.